The 2025 VW Atlas. LED light bars on the front and back. Stylish from the side. 20-inch wheels. LED lit logo. Adaptive headlights. In my opinion, this is the best midsize SUV on the market. I think it's better than the Pathfinder, the Highlander, even the Telluride. I just think it's an awesome, stylish looking, normal looking SUV. We'll get into everything I like, everything I don't like, but I think what steals the show is the interior. As you see here, it is massive, and if that's what you're looking for, maybe instead of a minivan or some other midsize SUV, I think this will fit the bill for almost everyone. Don't overlook the Atlas, it's awesome. Just look at the size of this cab and the additional cargo space. That's with the third row down. All right, let's jump into this review. This is the 2024 through 2025 Volkswagen Atlas. The first thing you'll notice is the styling. I really enjoy the styling on this vehicle. I think that it's kind of got a classic look that the other brands just don't have. They get a little too gaudy and a little too modern looking. And this one to me just looks right. That's the best way I can explain it. This is the SE with technology package. So just one up from the base, you do get 20-inch wheels with the SE. Pretty nice looking. You also get full LED headlights with fog lamps. These are actually directional lamps, so when you turn your steering wheel, they actually guide you towards whichever direction you're turning, so that is a nice little feature. This light bar does light up. The logo illuminates as well, all standard with the tech package and above. Another nice standard feature, you do get the blinker indicators inside the mirror and your blind spot monitoring. Now stepping into the car, they do have a nice wood grain here. Very nice materials, nice stitching. As you can see, this white stitching is nearly everywhere in the car. Nice soft touch materials, nice location for all of the power windows, the mirror, and this is for the rear lift gate. One complaint you might see are these soft touch buttons. These are all capacitive touch, so you just touch the buttons, and as you can see, if you get close, they actually activate. I do think they could have cut down on the amount of piano black in this car. Most cars have it nowadays, and it's a little frustrating because your fingerprints just end up all over it. That's probably one of the biggest downsides to these new interiors, and it's in a lot of vehicles, not a deal breaker, just noticeable with fingerprints and little micro scratches. Overall, I like the interior. I really like the layout of the steering wheel. All of the buttons are very easy to kind of learn after a couple days of use. The volume buttons here, cruise control settings, and automated lane assist. And then you also have your heated steering wheel. This is probably one of the nicest features on the Atlas. All models get standard heated steering wheel and heated seats, which is a huge bonus compared to a lot of other brands. You have 3 levels of steering wheel heat. So when you click this, each level just goes from top to bottom. And boy, the top level of heat on this car is very hot, gets you warm quick. It does have paddle shifters up here on either side, which for me, in an SUV with a 4-cylinder turbo, not exactly the most important thing. I do like the vent locations down here. And I do like that there are 2 extra vents up here that you can aim one high, one low. So that's kind of a nice feature, and you still have the integrated defrost. The shifter is obviously new. It's just a little electronic shifter. Very easy to get used to. Your start, stop, park, and then your electric parking brake. Not crazy about electric parking brakes, but that is what it is in modern cars. Down here, you've got 2 USB-C ports, and then you have the integrated charge pad here. That's nice to have wireless charging built in. And if you connect these, you can also connect your CarPlay directly through USB-C, or you can do it through wireless. So you have wireless CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. We'll show you that here in a minute. Decent storage. The seats are a nice, really nice texture, kind of a leatherette in the lower trims like this. And as you can see, there's you still get the nice stitching integrated there and on the sides, but they are very high quality seat. One thing you'll note about German seats, if you've ever had German cars, you will notice that the seats are relatively firm. They have firm bolstering on the sides, and this is maybe a little bit more firm than, say, you know, a Tesla or something with a little softer leather. That's pretty normal in German cars, and I actually like it on long road trips. I have neck issues, and for me, these seats are very comfortable on long road trips. So far, we've put about 2,500 miles on it. It's probably one of the first cars I've never had neck problems in. Same thing here with the steering wheel. You'll notice this white stitching everywhere. They really like to accent everything with that. Now, one thing I really like about this vehicle is the space. I'm about 6'1", so you can see that I've got plenty of room here. Man, I just feel like it has a ton of room, and I'll show you the back seat. What's impressive is how much room you have up here. I like the angle of my knee. A lot of vehicles, they used to, you know, your knees would be up a little higher if you're a taller person. This is really designed for normal-sized Americans. Let's just put it that way. Definitely better than some of the older Japanese-style cars that the floorboard was higher in, and also better than some of the domestics that I've seen recently. Now, to give you a frame of reference, I have the front seat in the same position. Actually, it's moved all the way back from where I would drive, and here I am, again, 6'1". I've got probably a good 6 inches of space between my knees and the front, so you could have extremely tall people with very long legs sitting in this seat. And the width of the vehicle is probably the most impressive thing in its class. I drove the Pathfinder, we're talking Tellurides, Palisades, all of the other ones, and they feel cramped width-wise. This feels almost like a full-size SUV to me. I have a Toyota Sequoia as a reference, and this is approaching the width of that Sequoia, which is probably the most impressive thing to me. I have tons of room here, and with the door shut, I'll show you that here in a moment. Same thing goes for the middle row. I can probably, my knees still aren't hitting the front console, and that's pretty impressive, you know, given my height. Now, a tour of the back, and you do have the same wood grain up top here. You do on the SE with Tech version, you have extra window shades. So, you know, if I was looking at a minivan versus this, I would actually probably consider this over a minivan if you want all-wheel drive. This is a better value in my opinion. And then you do have typical pretty large cup holders. The seating back here is very similar, very nice bolstering, and it's kind of, you know, that same firmness that you would expect in most German cars, but it is a very nice seating arrangement. Nice texture on the seats. You have the typical cup holders. They're pretty small back here, but that's okay. Has the same stitching on all of these seats. Thin map style holders. Lots of leg room. Hard to see without someone sitting here, but I can attest this is one of the largest vehicles I've had. And it's supposed to be mid-size, but it's really comparable to the full size. Double vents here. The passengers can control. You do have 2 more USB-Cs down here and 115 volt. If you push this in, you do get the power plug there. Now you have 2 options to get into the back seat. This is the middle row. So this option just folds the seat down, and it does fold extremely flat, which is nice if you really wanted to store things back here. You can tell that it's got a lot of space back here. Very wide. The back window doesn't cut down into your space. So really good for storage if that's what you're looking to do as well. I think if you're looking at a minivan, this might actually be a better option for you. Come up here and just lift this lever. You'll see it just kind of falls forward. Such a nice design, and you can just walk right back here. Now I am going to pull this seat up. You just pull this lever, lift it up, and now you have your rear seats. Now, one nice thing about these seats is they're on a slide, so you can change if they're too far back and you have a larger passenger in the rear. You can pull this little lever under here, little lever right here. So now I've got this forward here, just to give you some idea. Still have room even with this seat moved forward a little bit. That's pretty impressive. Now let's take a look at the back row right behind me there. Quite a bit of room. I think this is probably class-leading interior space. I haven't looked at all of the dimensions, but being in all of the other vehicles and then being in this, it was just night and day. The amount of space you felt like you had in this car and the ease to get in and out of the middle row and the third row was a huge selling point. Let's see if I fit in the back. So with the middle row furthest back, this is what it looks like for someone that's 6'1" sitting back here. Just to give you an idea, my knees are hitting the seat here in front of me. Of course, the angle is okay because this is a fully independent rear suspension, so my knees aren't way up. So the floor here in this car stays flat all the way up. There's no like little bump and raise. That's a really nice feature. So honestly, for me back here, I would probably never be in the back of this car, but for kids, it's definitely doable and much better than a lot of other competing SUVs, even better than some of the full size. So that's really the kicker. This sort of doubles as like a really good everyday driver. It just feels really spacious for being a mid-sized SUV. You do have rear passenger vents integrated into the side pillar there for the passengers. Another nice feature, we are in the third row. You do have a little bit of storage here, your typical just basic storage and cup holders. You also do have 2 USB-C ports back here. That's just a nice touch. However, you don't have them on the right side, so only the driver's side of the car. So you'll see that there's no elevation increase from the middle row to the third row, so it just stays flat here. There's a big gap between the seat and the floor, which just gives you a really nice seating position. So what's under the hood? That's usually the big question everybody wants to know. This is a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, direct injection only. It does have some nice features that I like. It has a cast iron block. It does have forged components and some additional cooling. It also holds over 6 quarts of oil, so that's a nice addition. When you've got a turbocharged engine, more heat. I like having more oil capacity. Overall, this has obviously been very reliable so far. We've only got 2,500 miles on it. Long term, who knows? This engine has been out in Volkswagen for a long time. They've had it in the Volkswagen Golf R and some of the other vehicles. It was revised a couple years ago, so it's not a brand new engine for the Atlas. I do trust it given how hard people drive those little Golf R sports cars and other things, and they're a higher horsepower. This is detuned. It's got plenty of power. If you're comparing it to a traditional V6, I will tell you, at least at my elevation, 5,000 feet and above, this runs better than any V6 I've owned, which is expected. You've got a turbocharged, forced induction engine. It's going to run better than a V6. That's just how the game's played right now. Excellent torque. It does have an 8-speed automatic, which is made in Japan by Aisin, and which is kind of a cool little benefit. You get some Toyota, maybe some Toyota reliability and quality with their 8-speed in a Volkswagen, which is that's kind of nice. Everything's really accessible here. The turbo's right here on the backside. It's actually very accessible. I'm not sure if we're going to keep this car out of warranty, and this did come with a 6-year, 100,000-mile warranty from the dealer. So we'll see how reliability goes. I'll keep you updated on this channel as to how long we keep the vehicle. Right now, we like it so far. Here's a nice shot underneath the rear multi-link independent suspension. A lot of steel under here, which sort of surprised me. I expected to see more aluminum. Actually, a pleasant surprise here. And here's a shot from the driver's side underneath the car. And here's a shot from the front. Underneath the car, you do have steel control arms, some cast iron parts as well. Of course, the plastic fender well covers and a plastic belly pan there that you do have to remove if you want to change the oil. Looks like we've got our ice scraper in here. We live in Colorado, so it's been a little chilly. This is the room behind the seats with the seats up, these rear seats. To drop the seats, it's pretty easy. You just click this or pull that lever up and boom, drops right down, and you have a ton of space back here. And to pull them back up, you can just grab this handle. That's all, of course, one-handed, super simple and light for those out there that don't like bending over too far to get things. There's a ton of space, needless to say, back here. This is one of the biggest cars. I know I'll keep saying it, but this is definitely one of the most spacious mid-sized SUVs. Very nice little compartments on either side. And then you do have the storage right here underneath. That's where the spare is. And there's a little bit of storage kind of integrated on top of the spare. You know, when you come up to cars and you grab the handle and you just have that feel, kind of just the sound and the feel of the door shutting. This felt very solid and just put together right. So far, initial quality just feels higher on this than some of the other brands we tested. Key fob, it is a little piano black. Does have for the tech package, you do have so the remote starts right here. You do have to click lock once and then click the remote start twice. So it's a nice key fob. It feels quality, but it is getting scratched up because it is that piano black style finish. So when you get in the car, it's like any other push start. Kind of welcomes you. There's the boot up time, very quick boot up time. But I do like the tech. The only thing that I do see people complain about is all of these buttons are capacitive touch. So when you click mode, it comes up and shows you your mode on the screen, which is, it's fine, but everything is really, other than these mode buttons and climate, you don't have any other physical buttons in this area, which is a big complaint, and I get it. It's just one of those things that a lot of new cars are going to. A little frustrating, but overall we like the design of all of the climate control and everything inside, but that has been a complaint. You do have physical buttons here for cold and hot, and you can see that it's just a touch. You just barely touch it, and that's how it changes it. If you want your heated seats on, you click the touch capacitive screen. There are no physical buttons for the heated seats. It has not been a big deal. These are heated and ventilated seats, which is another nice feature that a lot of other cars don't have or you have to upgrade to. So for me, I'm okay dealing with not having physical buttons down here and having all of the features in some of the base models, which is just not very common in most cars. And I do like, it's a plenty large enough screen. I think it's a 12-inch screen diagonally, has plenty of room for keeping a map up and your music up, and very responsive. So when you swipe through the screens, it is super quick. The one thing we did have a problem with, I think once we added our children's phones in here, we had maybe 4 or 5 phones connected at once. I do see some random disconnects through Bluetooth. We didn't see that when we first got the car for at least a week or so, and then once we started adding the kids' phones to it, we noticed a little bit of disconnecting issue, but not the end of the world, just something to consider. So let's get moving. We'll do a couple quick runs here and just show you, kind of give you impressions. Now, what really sold us on this vehicle, a couple things. The steering, I've heard people complain about the steering and that it's too light and the vehicle wanders. You can actually change that inside your settings. There's a way you can go into your drive modes and you can customize your steering wheel feel, so you can make it a little bit heavier. That actually made us feel like it kind of drives more like a car with hydraulic steering, or you know, like an older style car with a little heavier feel. So we really did like the change and the customization that you can do to the feel. You can also change, it does pipe in like fake noise because it's a 4-cylinder turbo. I guess for whatever reason, manufacturers feel like they need to make your car noisy. I actually you know, and especially an SUV like this, I don't want fake synthetic noise piped into the cab. So for me, kind of goofy to do that. It does have start stop there, as you can see. You can turn off the start stop feature, and if you forget to do it, you can still do it while driving. You can click on the vehicle settings and then status, and you can click start stop and it'll turn it off. Unfortunately, without reprogramming, there's no way to do that. Every single time the car starts up, you know, it's gonna re-enable that start stop. But overall, it is insanely quiet, going 44 miles an hour here. The one thing that really sold us, I think, in the end on this car was we took it out on the highway and it didn't get louder as we got faster on the highway. So we went up to 50, 60, 70 miles an hour and we're like, it doesn't seem like it's getting louder in the cab. So I don't know if they added sound insulation or what, but it's extremely smooth riding car. It's just quiet. It feels super refined, you know, what you would expect in a brand new car. But compared to a lot of the other models we drove, you know, looking at the Telluride, the Palisade, the Pathfinder, we really were favoring the Pathfinder. I wanted a naturally aspirated engine, and we drove this, and the rest is history. It just drives better. So going 45, we're in eco mode now, and if I give it a little gas, you can see it has plenty of torque. You know, the brakes are very good. Some older model Toyotas, you know, they didn't always have the best braking system. This one, I do feel like it will stop you on a dime. I love the brakes. And German cars in general, Volkswagen in general, they will have a rear bias on their braking, so you don't get that nosedive when you really hit the brakes hard. That's always nice. And I don't have my decibel meter with me, but I'll turn on one of the non-noise canceling mics. It's quiet. We could actually whisper in the cab going 50 miles an hour, which I can't say for a lot of other vehicles that I've driven. You know, if you're looking for kind of quiet, comfort, smooth powertrain, this is very good. Overall miles per gallon combined, we're getting about 22 when we measure it at the pump, and that's pretty darn good. You can see it on the dash there. It says 23 right now. If we're just on the highway, you know, we took a trip up to northwest Colorado in the middle of a snowstorm. It's the middle of winter, so you generally get worse gas mileage when the temperatures are colder and you got a lot of snow. We got 29 miles per gallon on our trip up to northwest Colorado and back. Now, there is a caveat to that. We're traveling from 5,000 feet up to 10,000 feet, and then, you know, ending up around 7,000. So the higher up in elevation you go, the better gas mileage you're going to get. There's less oxygen, you use less fuel. So that's kind of the game. So you would probably have to adjust that by 1 to 2 miles per gallon for sea level folks. If you're looking at, I would say the top end of the miles per gallon you're going to get if you baby this thing, you're probably going to get around 27 at the top end. If you're on flat roads doing 55, 65 miles an hour, that's where you get really the best mileage in this vehicle. So here's sport mode. And you can tell that's, you know, it's definitely a synthetic noise. It does run a little better. I'm not sure if they changed the fuel mapping in this, but it does seem like it's got a little more kick to it. But it is a hilarious little synthetic noise. They really try to make it sound like you're driving, you know, an old, like one of those nice V6s or something. So we'll hit the gas here and it definitely, you can see it doesn't shift up when you're in sport mode. It's really holding that gear. Now if I switch to, you'll see how that changes. I'll switch to eco mode, and immediately it starts to shift up into higher gears. and gets quiet, and it actually, in eco mode or in a custom mode, you can set, you can turn that synthetic noise off in the cab, which I don't want the noise on. You know, in this type of vehicle, it's definitely, I just want it quiet. You know, I didn't buy this to be a race car. If I wanted to hear an engine, I'd buy a Corvette or something like it. Here it is in eco mode, hitting the gas, and it actually runs about the same, but it's just natural engine sound. So it's definitely more, I think, appealing. I'm okay that this is just a 4-cylinder turbo. I don't need to hear a fake sound. And it is actually warm today. I wore a sweatshirt, but you know, the ventilated seats work nicely. It is a configurable dash too, so if you really wanted to change your view, you can click through the different preset views, and then you can also customize each view, which is kind of nice. You know, obviously I'm not going to do that while I'm driving, but you can see that it does give you the option to customize each side, which is pretty slick. I don't think I'll ever really need much more than what's up on the screen now. I like having speed, my instant miles per gallon. I like to see my trip miles per gallon, and then you know, if you want to look at other things like the odometer, you just click the cruise control off and the odometer comes up. So it's fairly straightforward. It looks overwhelming when you first get in. I'm just used to old analog cars, so this definitely will catch you off guard for a little bit. But with a little tinkering and playing around, it's pretty easy to figure out. You know, it drives great. I love the way, now that we figured out how to customize the steering wheel weight a little bit, I do like the way it feels. I like the way it drives. If you really have to whip the car and turn quickly, with the 20-inch wheels that are on this, they handle really well, and there's not a lot of body roll in this car. So it feels very, I don't know, it just feels very nimble for how large it is. I just think it's a joy to drive, and as you can see from the dash, you know, if you really want to baby this thing and just keep the RPMs low, you'll get quite good mileage. I don't see any major flaws with this other than the lack of physical buttons for the climate control. That's probably about the only flaws, and of course, reliability remains to be seen. I'm not sure if I'd want to keep this outside of warranty. There's so much tech, you know, within the dash and the engine, everything. It's loaded with tech. Most new cars are loaded with tech. That's sort of the way everything's going. You just got to hope that they're reliable. So, and another thing that we really like is the vision out of the car. So just in general, you know, when you're backing up or moving into parking spaces, looking over your shoulder or on the interstate, whatever it is, the vision out of every window, whether you're looking out of the side, kind of the mid back, or all the way in the back through the rear view mirror, the vision is incredible. It does have radar sensors on the rear and the front. You can hear them beeping now, and that is kind of the clarity on this camera. It does have a very nice, I think, nice camera clarity, and then shows you kind of where things are in relation to your vehicle. It does have really nice ambient lighting as well. I'm not sure how this will come out, but you can see there's ambient lighting inside of here. All of the buttons do have ambient lighting, and then all of your steering wheel controls as well. So at night, it does make actually quite a big difference. You have lighting down here for all your ports, lighting through here through the cup holders, and lighting on the other side. In addition to that, you do have these lights here. They're just kind of dimly lit, so it is really nice. It's a nice experience inside the car at night. You can turn all of that off. You don't need to leave those lights on, but it is nice to just have a little bit of light everywhere so you can see what's going on. And if you're wondering how the 4Motion all-wheel drive works in this thing, we actually had this up in Northwest Colorado. We had about a foot of snow, maybe more. We were pushing snow with the front bumper in this, and just the stock tires. We had snow packed in the wheels,
and there wasn't a plow for a couple days out on the county roads we were on. We just happened to have a crazy snowstorm that came through, and we never got stuck. I actually wanted to test this out. I had someone tell me, hey, do you want me to plow that road? And I said, no, don't plow it. I want to see how this car does in the worst conditions, and I can honestly say it did great. Sometimes you get all-wheel drive systems that just can't handle really heavy stuff like that, heavy snow, and there's plenty of ground clearance on this, which I really like. So should you buy the 2024, 2025 Volkswagen Atlas? The answer is maybe. It kind of depends on who you are. I think if you're a mom that's looking at minivans, I've looked at some of the prices of those minivans, and I'll be honest with you, I would take this with 4Motion all-wheel drive any day over a minivan. Now, I've owned minivans when my kids were smaller, so I completely understand there's a demographic of people that just want that ease of getting in and out and the sliding doors and everything. This does look a lot cooler than a minivan. It is more capable, and I think there is a demographic here of just moms that don't want minivans. This is perfect, and it doesn't cost $45,000 if you go, hunting for a deal. Now, I'm coming from a Toyota Sequoia, so I love the size of this. It's bigger than the other ones. We went directly from a Pathfinder on our test drives to this, and this felt just so much more spacious in the hip, shoulder, and headroom. The Pathfinder looks nice, but it tends to kind of cave in on the tops and the back window, and this doesn't have that problem. So that's my thoughts. That's why we bought it, and I think that this at least deserves a test drive if you're in the market for one, and you're bound to get a better deal on the VW. And compared to the other brands, we talked to Hyundai, Kia, Toyota. Boy, we couldn't get them to budge on price compared to this. That's the Atlas. Let me know what you think of the review. Thanks for watching.